I'm told I have to say something, and I'm not the MC and I'm not the chair of this meeting. But I'm told I have to say something. What shall I say? Two things maybe. One is that I'm absolutely delighted that we're having these Sunday mornings. We do quite a lot of work here, which is, if you like, policy development and so on. But somehow it doesn't have the excitement that this group has, because we think that this group has the potential to play quite an important part. And even if it's a small group relative to the thousands and tens of thousands at the universities, small groups do make an impact. In fact, this institute was started in 1986. We haven't got a mandate. We're producing a sort of a history of the institute. It was started in London in 1986 by a Pan-African group from Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Sudan. And you'll get copies of that shortly. And it was a small group, and our first activity was a conference on IMF and World Bank, which was a Pan-African conference with the best economists from the whole of Africa who met in London to discuss the IMF and World Bank. Well, we thought it was just a small conference of, 35 people, but Washington was terribly worried, and the Vice President of the World Bank flew over from Washington to attend the meeting, as did the chief economists of the World Bank for Africa attended the meeting, and they were horrified because the meeting was led by Professor Bade Onemode, a Nigerian economist, and we destroyed the IMF and World Bank at that meeting. So they were very concerned. So what I'm saying is small things, and it was a small institute, grossly underfunded, with relatively small premises in London, bigger than this. We had a lecture hall, and we had a number of offices and so on. But it was small, and it had a huge impact right across Africa, because we confronted the most important issue of the day. I'm talking about the 1980s, which was structural adjustment programs which destroyed Africa. Those of you who know some economics will know that the IMF and World Bank destroyed Africa for two decades, and the recovery took quite a long time. So what I'm saying is small things, and don't bother me, because as long as they know what, the small people know what they're doing, as long as there's a degree of coherence and a degree of rigor and depth in what you're talking about, it can make a hell of a big impact. Just to give you an example, I phoned the IMF on Thursday because I was given the name of an economist at the IMF who I was told was a reasonable person. And I spoke to him and I said, would he write an article for New Agenda which explained the shift in policy at the IMF? There must be some people doing economics here, I hope. Not all psychology and gender studies. So, well, those of you who know some economics will know that there's been quite a big shift in IMF policy on the question of stimulus, quantitative easing, and a big focus on inequality. She confirmed that Christine Lagarde, the head of the IMF, is now talking about inequality as a major threat to the world economy, which is remarkable because the IMF was the institution that actually created inequalities across Africa and the world. So now they're talking about the dangers of increasing inequality globally. So I phoned him up and I said, would you write a piece to explain why the IMF is now concerned about inequality and also the shift from austerity policies to stimulus. Okay. So he said yes. Yeah, he didn't say yes, he said, I'll let you know. And he phoned Washington to get permission from head office to write this article. When he phoned me